Hey church, I'm Christian, and we are so excited that you're here with us today. Whether you're worshiping with us in person or online, welcome. Within your program, you'll find a connection card. If it's your first time here, please fill one out and swing by the Connection Center table in the back. We even have a small gift in exchange just to say thanks for checking us out. It's almost time, karaoke night. Whether you're ready to sing on stage or cheer from the crowd, join us this Friday, September 13th at 6 p.m. right here in the Rock Auditorium. There'll be refreshments for sale, so come ready to snack and come ready to jam. Our Operation Christmas Child mission continues. September's items to donate are personal care items, things like socks, hairbrushes, and toothbrushes. Please no liquids, paste, or vitamins. Guess what time it is? Potluck time. Bring your favorite fall-themed dish and join us on Sunday, September 22nd after second service. If you are interested in joining, please sign up at the Connection Center. We are hosting our second annual Trunk or Treat on Saturday, October 26th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. right here at The Rock. We will need participation by decorating trunks, handing out candy, and of course, representing The Rock. There are 2 different sign-ups. Volunteer sign-up positions can be found on a paper sign-up at the Connection Center. The sign-up to participate as a trunk or hallway table can be found on our website. At this time in our service, we like to talk about our family value of supporting the work of His church financially. The Lord calls us to give back just a small portion of all that He has generously given to us. If you're a guest with us, relax and keep your money in your pockets. We don't ask anything of you. It is the responsibility of our partners to support this ministry. And if you call yourself a partner with The Rock, we have a couple of ways you can do that. You can drop your tithe in the box by the back door, or using the camera on your smartphone, you can simply scan the QR code on the back of your program. There's a tab that says Giving. Click there and follow the prompts to safely give online. We want to say how grateful we are for the continued support of our partners. You make it possible to be the hands and feet of Jesus throughout our community. That's all for today, church. Have a great day.
Well, my name is James. I'm one of the worship leader here. If you were expecting Oscar, well, you have a better viewing pleasure with myself here instead of him. I love you, Oscar. We're so glad you're here. We have a wonderful service here that God really moved last service. So I expect him to do the same through testimony. A lot of times when we allow Oscar to get off of his leash and out of the cage and out into the community, we a lot of times do a testimony Sunday. So a few housekeeping items. Next, this coming up Friday the 13th. How many of us still watch those Jason movies and those Freddy Krueger movies and The Thing and all those other wonderful 80s D-list movies? Well, we have an alternative for you. We are doing our first ever karaoke night. We're expecting it to be a lot of fun. How many of us are planning on showing up to the karaoke night? Awesome. I can't see hands, but I'm sure it's everybody. We're going to have a lot of fun. There's Sarah's putting it on, and there's a lot of fun things and creative things that she's doing. And it's more than just coming and hearing people sing or singing yourself. We're going to have a lot of community, a lot of games in between. There might even be puzzles for those puzzle fanatics. And so we invite you to come this Friday. On the September 22nd, after the second service, we are doing a potluck again. How many of us were here the last time we did our potluck during the summer? Man, it was a blast. There was a lot of people here. We had probably 120 people back there just chewing on some food and having some fun time. There was a lot of, there's something in the Bible. If you notice, there's just something about a table. Whenever there's a table involved, like when Jesus sat with the disciples around the table, or there's eating, or a lot of things about a table is where community happens. And so we believe that that's what happens when we do potlucks. You can have, a dozen different potato salads from hot to warm, and everything from mayonnaise to all these other different types. That doesn't make it good, but if you do potato salad, use mayonnaise. That's a southern charm there. So what we ask you to do is if you are planning to come to the potluck and just be a community, please sign up in the back. We have the Connection Center back there. We ask that you sign up what you want so we don't have, again, 20 different potato salads or 20 different macaroni salads. And we know, do we need to keep it hot? Do we need to keep it warm? That lets us know. Obviously, if you come during first service, we want to be able to keep it edible all the way up until we eat again. So please see them in the Connection Center, and they'll be glad to take down your information. Well, I'm not going to babble for too long because I can definitely get long-winded. But I asked today, like I said, we're doing a testimony, and I asked the digital overlord ChatGPT what it thinks what a testimony is, and it gave me 4 points on why it's important for us to share our testimony. Point number 1 was encouragement and inspiration, that hearing how God has changed someone's life can inspire others, particularly those who may be struggling or seeking answers in their own journey. It's a chance for evangelism. It's sharing a personal story of faith in a natural way to communicate the gospel instead of abstract theory, right? Here, a lot of times when you read pages, words on a page, it's okay, there's words on a page. It makes it alive, right? It's an actual visual testimony of what we read about in the Bible, God doing miracles and works in people's lives. We actually get to see it living out in people's lives, and we get to express that to other people. Again, we get to witness God's power. It's the same thing. Testimony as evidence of God's love, grace, and power, and I will even include miracle working. And then it helps build community, right? It helps to let people know that, hey, I'm not the only one going through this. Someone else is doing this. Someone who's on stage who seems to have it all together is going through this as well, right? I have envy. If you're 5'7" and over, I have a lot of envy for you, right? So I'm working through that, right? So know that you are not alone. If you're a Napoleonic person like me, then that's okay. But today we are going to have an awesome couple. And as the music plays, we're going to have an awesome couple. She is my co-leader here in worship. She is the sweet, soulful, sassy, singing sister and her masculine, macho, manly man from Merritt Island. Please welcome with me to the stage, Sarah and Cody Blevins.
Thank you, James. Yep. So how's everybody doing this morning? I know we already did this first service, but we're still nervous for second service. And caution, I'm going to be crying. But thank you for joining us this morning. And my name's Sarah. I'm one of the worship leaders here at The Rock. That song that we were just was just playing, there's something about it that holds so much truth, and I'd like to share the actual words, because the words that we're singing when we worship have meaning to it. It has so much meaning, and I don't want to overlook that. So it says, there's never been a day, there's never been a minute, there's never been a moment that you weren't in it. There's never been a time that you didn't see me through, God, so I'll worship you. Jesus, I was tossed in the water, but I never went under. You were always on time. And Jesus, when I went through the fire, you were right there beside me because you were always on time. Whew. Your turn.
Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Cody. Hi, Cody. Hi, everybody. My name is Cody. I'm Sarah's husband, and we've been going to the Rock Church for about 2.5 years now. And I've made some great relationship with many members of the church, and I am very grateful for having this opportunity to share my testimony with you. The relationships I have made in this church have strengthened my relationship with our Father in heaven.
There's been so many instances that Cody and I shouldn't have made it through, but here we are. God has shown up in our lives, even when we didn't know him, recognize him, or even really want to have a relationship with him. He kept showing up, picking us up, and leading us to where we are today. He knew we were meant for more, and that holds true for all of his children.
God has made a great influence on my life in many different ways. I gotta say, he's a great God, and I will forever bow to him. There are many instances I've questioned whether I am worthy of his love or his grace. I have not been your poster child throughout life and even questioned my own actions or thoughts. While I have many reasons to not be a believer, and they were hard to overcome, I now see the true light that Jesus was shining upon me to lead me by being my waymaker. Jesus has taken me from the depths of hell and brought me back to life, and this is my story. Life started in 1990, Fort Myers, Florida. I had two older sisters named Crystal and Brittany. My dad went to prison when I was 3, so my mom and sisters raised me until I moved to Ohio with my dad at the age of 9, though life in Fort Myers was not a walk in the park. We attended church regularly. I was brought up Baptist, and my sister and I would attend church every Wednesday and Sunday. The church bus would pick us all up on Sunday, and I remember my mom would always stay home and clean the house. Living in a neighborhood with school friends close by was fun, but we would get ourselves into trouble mostly because our parents were drinking and didn't know where we were up to. I still feel the excitement that it was. When I was 7, I had met a few guys around the neighborhood that were older than me, like teenagers, and thought they were cool. One day, they were riding four-wheelers through the neighborhood, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. Going fast, riding wheelies, and just showing off because you can was awesome. Well, I began to trust them and would go over after school to watch them work on their four-wheelers. And then one day, I was sexually abused by someone I trusted. I didn't know the difference, really. I didn't know it was wrong. As a young child, life was difficult for me to understand on how or what I was supposed to be. It wasn't until I moved to Ohio that I would understand a different way to live. I was introduced to farm life. My dad got out of prison and moved to Ohio shortly after his release when I was 9. I've never really had a relationship other than when he was in prison. We would go up to Tampa to go see him. We would get to see him for about twice a year for about an hour or so. I wouldn't call it a relationship. My mom had divorced him while he was in prison because of the abuse he did to her. I have faint memories of my father stabbing my mom several times in the back and in the face. I do remember where I was sitting, but must have blocked out the rest. It's really ironic that I wanted to go live with him in Ohio, but to be honest, I would not have chosen any different. That decision really helped shape the man I am today. I went to Ohio, and my sister Brittany was living there when she would leave shortly after I moved in. It was a better life for me. I got homemade meals, love, and got to be around more of my family. I got 2 new sisters, stepsisters, Cindy and Trish. We all got along well. They had a little brother now to guide and blame things on. But not long after I moved, I started to see my dad's true colors. Yes, he provided for his family. He was a hard worker and Christian man. At least he portrayed himself as one, and always put his kids first. Although he had a temper, and it always would come out on me. Never did he lay a hand on any of my sisters, but he would beat my butt from one end of the cornfield to the other. I've been stripped down naked and sat down on trash cans because I made fun of another kid at school. Now, I know it's not right, but I was in 5th grade. How much did I really know? I say this because I have been humiliated all my life for being goofy. While I say goofy, others would call me dumb or an outcast. This never defined me. I didn't realize this until I started working for my grandfather. He owned a service station, old school type, with this full service. I was that kid who'd fill your gas tank, clean your windshield, and check your tire pressure. It was fun for me at the age of 11. This would really be my only stability in life. My grandfather, Donald McNutt, may he rest in peace. And I'm forever grateful for his love and guidance that he showed me on how to be a real man. He's always been there to support me and push me to be a better, and always giving me guidance and understanding the value of something. His wife, Kim, she would take me to church when I got to spend the weekend with them and help me better understand Jesus and try to help me apply his thinking to my everyday life. The church we went to was a church very much like the Grove setup, but 15 years ago. As I grew up, I would look forward to going to church and spending time with other people than at home. It almost felt like a nightmare at times, not knowing what I would be getting yelled at or smacked, kicked, or just shameful looked for. I didn't feel a connection with God, and I didn't understand the power of prayer at the time, really because I didn't believe in any of it. It's hard to believe when you're in chaos and you see the light that Jesus is paving for you. My light was very dim for me. I did not let that affect my decisions on religion as a teenager. I kept an open mind about religion. I didn't look to a God that suited my situation. I didn't look for a God. I was looking for an answer to be able to find a greater power than my mind, body, and soul. The older I got, the more distance grew between me and Jesus. When I was 18, I joined the Army, active duty. Signed up for 3 years and ended up doing 6. The most asked question is, why did you join? My answer was different than most. As when I was asked, I answered to get as far away from this place as I can, AKA Ohio, which in a few years, I was on the other side of the earth, fighting for my life, and the others are below me. It was a great duty, and I would do it over again with no hesitation at all. Definitely gave me a much more appreciation for the freedoms we have here and be able to praise Jesus Christ. It made me want to open the Bible because I didn't know if I was going to be able to go to heaven for the act I have been assigned to do. Protecting your own life and the people around you while you're still trying to live in a Christian image can be challenging. Temptations are everywhere and hard to resist. I have missed the mark many, many, many times. Throughout life, after I got back from deployment, my mother passed away from liver failure. She basically drank herself to death. She was a God-fearing Christian, always has been, believer, just never really applied it to her everyday life. My now ex-wife had taken everything I owned and moved in with another man while I was deployed. I came home to no one, in my opinion. My ex-wife picked me up in the car I bought her with another man's clothes in the back seat. Coming home to an empty house from a 12-month deployment will break anyone. A few months later, my mom passed away in Ohio while I was stationed in Hawaii. Shortly after her passing, I tried to kill myself due to the guilt and image I had of myself. Very low moment in my life. I would say I felt like I had an elephant sitting on my chest and was hoping it would kill me. Thankfully, my ex cut the belt off my neck and got me some help. I got remarried to my second wife, and she was young and I was dumb. Not a good combo, but we thought love was there. It was more like lust was there. I had just gotten out of the Army and was still in Hawaii. She was stationed there. I ended up getting a job plowing pineapple fields in Hawaii. Who would think that a farm life from Ohio would get me a job plowing pineapple fields in Hawaii? I was not good, and I was not in a good place many days. I don't remember, and should have gotten out of there. The end of our marriage was due to me being addicted to spice or fake weed. I chose it over her. There was no respect, no trust, and no love left after the end. I didn't know what to do or where to go. In total, with my loving wife now, and forever my love, I've been married 3 times. Definitely not what I thought I was going to happen, but this is God's path, and that He has paid for me. I take full responsibility for my actions, whether they're good or bad. I am me, and will not let I will not let my past define me. While all this is going on, and after the failure of my second marriage, I chose to do drugs and alcohol to mask my pain I had. I wrote a story 2 years ago when I ended up in rehab by my own free will, not ordered other than by myself. It's titled, Why Am I Here? Well, it's been a long road coming to an end. I've had many years of drinking and drugging, trying to mask the issues that I didn't want to tackle. Rather than handle them, I would set them aside and focus on what was ahead of me. This is not the best idea or the healthiest way to handle my problems. Many of my issues deal with death or bad decisions. In the last few years, I looked to drinking to help me forget the past and present issues. My drinking started with me just occasionally drinking, then it progressed to going on 2 to 3 day bingers in which I would miss work and lie to my boss on why I couldn't make it to work. Then my drinking became daily and unmanageable. In return, I would lie and hide my habit so it seemed normal, but it was far from normal. The chaos in my head became harder and harder to block. This was not an effective way to handle my problems, and then it became my family's problem, even if I didn't think my drinking was a problem that affected them. Although it was directly affecting them, I became distant. I would find any excuse not to go to family outings so I could keep drinking. I became selfish with my time, pushing away others that care about me. I have many things to be proud of and many achievements at a young age that would take most people their lifetime to achieve. I have worked hard for what I have in life, and with that said, I couldn't find any reason or excuse to continue on my warpath. So the question, why am I here, is quite simple in my mind. Why would I give it all up for a bottle of drugs? Jesus has given me the strength to know better and to be a better man. There are many years of greatness ahead of me. To give up now, trying to stop on my own, was never going to be a success unless I accepted Jesus into my heart. This story I wrote 2 years ago still applies to me today. Jesus saved me and my family from being torn apart. I will forever be Jesus' servant, for I owe my life to him. We all came together to care and love each other. He is a mighty God that can overcome anything in his way of seeing him. As I stand before you today, I want to remind each and every one of you that no matter the darkness you may face, no matter how far you feel from grace, God's love is unwavering and his arms are always open. And if you can't see him, he is there watching over you. Jesus has the power to heal the deepest wounds, restore the broken, and bring light into even the darkest corners of our heart. I am living proof that through faith, surrender, and trusting in his plan, we can overcome anything. So I encourage you, wherever you are on your journey, to keep your eyes on Jesus. He is our Redeemer and our everlasting hope. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, and to be honest, I am just so privileged that you're my husband, and what you've been through is just hard. I love you. Thank you for having the strength to tell everybody that. Cry. Oh, man. So growing up, my life wasn't that complicated. My parents divorced when I was 3, and I lived with my mom and my stepdad and my older brother. And I visited my dad on Wednesdays and every other weekend. As a young kid, I was very intuitive to others' emotions and observant to my surroundings. At a young age, I was drawn to music. First grade, I started chorus, and third grade, I started playing the violin. It was my way of expressing myself. When I was about 14, I started losing most of my hair, and I was very tired all the time. My mom was concerned because I was falling asleep in class, and as a straight-A student, that just wasn't like me. She took me to the doctor where I was diagnosed with hyperparathyroidism, a disease that usually affects you when you're in your 60s, not when you're 14. What hyperparathyroidism is you have calcium within your blood, and then you have calcium within your bones. What those parathyroids, when they're hyperactive, they say, well, the blood needs more calcium, so it will pull it from your bones. So at age 15, I had borderline osteoporosis and brittle bone disease. Shortly after this, I had surgery and had the parathyroids removed from my neck. I thought my singing might be affected, and it was there for a short time, but I did regain my strength. After genetic testing pulled negative, doctors still say it was just a fluke that I had that issue. Even now, sometimes when I'm around heat, it's hard for me to talk, and definitely affects my voice still today. Due to the lack of friends and self-esteem, I put my time into studies. I graduated high school with my AA degree at the same time. I remember my mom saying either I was going to grow up and be a menace to society, or I was going to grow up and do great things. As I moved to UCF, I continued my education. I found myself lost, struggling to feel loved, confused about my purpose in life, and that led me to going to the bars every night. In 2017, I found myself tired of this pain that life had, and I remember just crying to God, if you're real, please help me. And I didn't get an answer right away, and I really didn't think too much about it. As I did frequently, I went to the bar, and I saw this guy across the bar looking straight at me, and our eyes connected. Nervous, I looked down, and I looked back up, and he was gone. Next thing I know, he's standing right next to me, and he says, "You want a drink?" And I said, "Are you buying?" And so no other conversation, we take the shot, and he disappears again. Just disappears. I did think that it was the strangest encounter ever, but a few days later, he added me on Facebook, and then about a month later, he messages me on Facebook and asked me on a date. It was August 21st, 2017, the day of the solar eclipse. I had just gotten stood up by a guy that we were going to watch it together. Uninterested in a relationship, I told him I would meet up for a drink, but just as friends. We met up, and the first thing he asked me is, "What are you looking for in a guy?" When I look back, I can't believe I said this, but this is the truth. I told him that I was looking for a guy that had never been married before, has never had kids, and doesn't smoke cigarettes. He takes the biggest drink out of his glass, sets it down, and he says, "Welp, I've been married twice before. I have a 6-year-old daughter who lives in Ohio, and I could really use a cigarette right now. Wanna join?" He gets up and walks outside. There was no fluffy conversations or perfect mannerisms, just pure honesty. Although it wasn't what I was looking for, I did follow him outside, and I felt immediate trust towards him. We spent the next few days together talking and getting to know each other. I even caught him calling his boss and saying that he had kidney stones and couldn't go to work so we could spend another day together. The connection between us was very strong from the beginning, but in reality, we were both just lost in this world, and the only thing that we had at the time was each other, or so we thought. The partying continued when we moved from Claremont to Titusville. Eventually, that life was not what we wanted. We wanted to try to start for a family, and it took 6 months to get pregnant with Zoe, and then when Zoe was 1, we tried for Hannah. Hannah was born and spent 10 days in NICU due to having fluid in her lungs, and we didn't know if she was going to make it. She was on ventilation, and it was just a huge emotional battle. I remember looking at Cody and saying, "You can't drink. Your family needs you. I need you right now." And he didn't. Fast forward to April 2022. Chris and Jay Wicker, who are my aunt and uncle through marriage, invited us to the Easter egg drop. And we had an amazing time. They invited us into the church to take a look. And I remember looking at Cody and thinking, what did we get ourselves into? But out of respect, we did go inside and we took a look. We couldn't understand why everybody was so nice, and we felt drawn to come back. Of course, this is all new to us, and that first Sunday, we didn't come. But our minds started to think and turn, and we came back that following Sunday. I remember feeling like it was where we were supposed to be. I had no idea of the message, and the message just left me with more questions, and I couldn't say yes to Jesus without knowing him, and I wasn't going to believe something just because everybody else believed it. I had a hunger for knowledge, and so I came to just about every life group they had here to learn more. Simultaneously to my journey to find Christ, our home life wasn't working. The constant struggle with alcoholism consumed Cody, and he acknowledged that he wasn't going to change, take it or leave it, and I had to put my foot down. We had decided to dissolve our marriage, and during that week, it was just pure devastation for me. That initial night at 11 p.m., I was conflicted if I was making the right decision. My head hurt, my body ached, and my soul just cried. I was in the room without words, just consumed with hopelessness. That's when I noticed the Bible on my desk. I had only opened it a handful of times, and at this point, I felt like it was my last attempt for peace. I prayed before I opened it for God to give me a sign that it was going to be okay. I'd like to read what I was reading at the time. It's Psalms 35. Almost a good catch. Psalm 35. Plead my case, O Lord, with those who strive with me. Fight those who fight against me. Take hold of shield and bunker, and stand up for my help. Also draw out the spear and stop those who pursue me. While I was reading that passage, I had got a text message, but I didn't stop reading. I soon did look at my phone, and I read a text from my friend Jayla. She did come to the first service. And it said, I don't know why I feel like I need to share this with you, but guess what passage it was? Psalms 35. With 100% certainty, it was clear to me that God knew our struggle we were facing, and that the struggle with alcoholism with Cody, that Cody was facing, and it wasn't Cody, but it was the sin and lies that consumed him to isolation, where he felt unworthy of God's love, and thus unworthy of my love. Sorry. It took almost a week of not talking with Cody, and every day I prayed for him, and every day I read that passage over and over again. Cody and I sat down one evening, and he asked me, if he went to rehab, would I wait for him? And I immediately said yes. Shortly after, he checked into a 3-month rehab facility where I would not be able to see him for the first 45 days unless it was at church. Let me tell you, in that 6 weeks, we didn't miss a service. It made our faith stronger, broke strongholds, built a community of support, and brought us back together. In May of 2022, oh my gosh, hold on, sorry. Whew. I love you. In May of 2022, when the salvation invitation was presented in service, I was sitting 3 rows back right over here. My palms were sweaty, my heart was racing, and my eyes just started to cry. I could hear Pastor Oscar's voice, and I wanted to raise my hand, but I physically couldn't. The worship leader at the time, Morgan, saw me, and after they did their last worship song, she came down and talked with me. I was still shaking at this point, but for the first time, I had felt the pure power of God's love. He had shown up and wrapped his arms around me with all of his might and filled me with the Holy Spirit. At this time, Morgan knew me from Bible study, and actually at our very first meeting, she gave me her actual Bible, of which her grandma gave to her. It was highlighted and asterisked and bookmarked, and that's exactly what I needed. She told me that God told her I would need it. And that's the same Bible that was on my desk from the weeks prior. Without it, I wouldn't have opened to Psalms 35, and our lives might not have been the same as it is now. And I still have the Bible. I still use it. You see, I wasn't saved, and I hadn't accepted Jesus into my heart at that initial reading of Psalms 35. But he still showed up. He still showed up. This is a concept that proves no matter what, he loves us and will stop at nothing to have a relationship with us. You see, church, I pray a lot about being in community in here. And it's because it makes a difference. You guys make a difference. And if no one told you, you are worthy of God's love. And Jesus died to make sure we could have a connection and that sin no longer has a hold on us. This world is still full of sin, and no matter what we do, we'll never be rid of it. But what we can do is trust in the Lord Jesus Christ and believe with our hearts that God rose Jesus from the dead on the 3rd day and invite him into our lives. We can do that. We can be there for one another through the heartaches and the uncertainties this world poses on us. We can pray with a joyful heart, for God's promise is true, and the victory is already our future when we have him next to us. Thank you. That's our testimony. I would like to end in a prayer together. If you all don't mind standing. Dear Lord, oh, how your love is just unending, how you show up in mighty ways. We recognize you. We appreciate you. May you forever just show up time and time again for us, Lord. May the enemy not have a place in our lives. I pray that our community grows in this church. I pray that we can be there for one another and serve one another with a whole heart, because this world is just so complex, so hurtful. But we can be there for one another just like Jesus is there for us. I pray as we continue our week that our relationship with you just continues to get stronger, and that you just feed our hearts and want us to know you more. Lord, how grateful we are for you and everything that you did so that we can have a connection with you. I pray moving forward that we just build on that platform that you've created for us. Your love is just so overwhelming. And I invited it into our lives. I pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.